Hello and welcome back to Automotive Tales. On today's episode, you'll notice I am back in the Mighty Mazda. So today has been a little bit interesting. I was working from home this morning and Mrs. Automotive Tales took our Volvo V60 into work. I got a phone call about 5 minutes after she'd left home saying, I need assistance. Have a listen, see if you can figure out what happened. So, if you hadn't guessed, because the audio is a bit rubbish on the dash cam, the passenger side window on the Volvo exploded at random while she was driving along the A6. Who knows why? Apparently these things do happen relatively often. I've never seen it before, but it's apparently not uncommon. However, getting a new window is going to take a few days. So luckily, the very nice people at Volvo in Derby are keeping the car indoors, so it's safe and it's dry until Autoglass can get out on Monday and put a new window in. But that means I had to press the Mazda into action to go and first of all check everything was okay with the car this morning, and then to come up to Derby to pick up Mrs. Automotive Tales from work. Now, this is the first time I've driven the Mighty Mazda for quite a little while, and I have been chasing a small problem. So there's been a tiny weep on the cooling system where the top hose goes into the thermostat housing on the top of the engine. It's been just weeping ever so slightly. Now, I thought it was the hose itself and the Jubilee clip. I tightened it all up, it seemed to be okay for a while, then it started to come back again, so I suspected the gasket. So I took the thermostat housing off. I used some Mylar Blue to try and seal it, and I clearly didn't do a very good job because I got halfway to Derby in the Mighty Mazda and stopped at the traffic lights only for bellows of steam to come out from under the bonnet. Now, with an old car, I'm always watching the temperature gauge like a hawk. The car hadn't overheated, but what's happened is that seal has failed and it started pushing coolant out now from below the thermostat housing straight onto the block of the engine, which is what was causing the steam. So it is still holding coolant, it is still drivable, but it's not ideal. So we're going to try and limp the car home, keep it as cool as possible to stop the coolant boiling, because that then opens the thermostat. And once the thermostat opens, that's when it starts coming out of the failed gasket that I tried to do. Success! I made it home, and actually we haven't used an awful lot of coolant. We managed to keep the heaters on full in the cabin and basically coast everywhere so that we hit every single green light on the way home, which was actually really rather nice. So my job this evening, a little bit unplanned, is to get this thermostat housing back off, clean the previous job I had a go at doing with the gasket sealant paste stuff, and see if I can get it to seal again properly. So first job is going to be to get the coolant out of the expansion vessel. Because this sits a lot higher than the point we need to access the system, it's going to all drain out all of the engine. So I have a clever little tool for extracting it. And before you say it, no, it's not a Swedish enlarging pump of any kind.
One Swedish-made penis enlarger pump.
That's not mine.
One credit card receipt for Swedish-made penis enlarger, signed by Austin Powers.
This is a cool little laser tool for extracting the coolant. So I can basically empty the bottle and as much of the pipe I can get into with the nozzle, which means there'll be very small amounts of coolant left in here and very little to leak out. That's the plan, at least. So that is the thermostat housing off. Thermostat out, you can see where the coolant sits below and it comes up through the thermostat once it gets warm, and you can see where it's been leaking all the way down here and all the way around cylinder 1, which is not ideal. This side just needs cleaning up and it's ready to go back on. But what I need to show you is something I discovered on the thermostat housing that sits on top of here. So this is the thermostat housing. It's a little aluminium
casting, I guess it is. You can see where there's been some gasket paste on there. And the bottom end of it here looks relatively sound, but I think there's been a combination of problems. I think the gasket wasn't sealing great, and it was coming up through the bolt holes here, but I think it was continuing to leak down from the coolant hose as well, which seals around this sort of flange here. And you can see how, well, it's just all uneven. So it's all pitted. There's been loads of build-up of coolant here over the years. And when I did the thermostat last time, I cleaned this all up and thought the hose would seal okay to that. But in reality, that's such a pitted surface. I think coolant has actually been leaking down from the hose and running over here. And there's been a combination of possibly leaking from the gasket, but actually as much leaking down here and running and sitting around the gasket. So this is going to have to be replaced. Excellent. So as if by magic, I actually came prepared for this job. So it took a bit of finding, but I have purchased a new thermostat housing, which is all nice and shiny, although there are a few burrs that need to come off the bottom of there before that goes on. It comes with a selection of gaskets, which is great, except none of them actually meet the same sort of spacings as the holes on here. So first line, that's a bit of a fail. None of them actually match this. Surely at least one in the box would match the right bolt pattern, but nope, they're all different. Even this one here, that bolt pattern does not line up. That one's completely different. That one sort of does, but that's not really great. So I think a bit of RTV is going to be in order to make this seal properly. And then we've got a nice clean edge on there for the hose to seal to. If this doesn't do the job, then I don't know what will. So hopefully we're finally going to fix the tiny weep that's turned into a massive gush of coolant properly. Oh yeah, and I got a new thermostat because this has been in and out a few times now and it's already looking a bit ropey. So I'm not taking any risks. New thermostat. So interesting little quirk. You notice on the older thermostat, it's got this little brass piece here. It's like a little bypass valve. New first line one does not. It has no little bypass valve. I'm not really sure if that is it necessary. Is there a reason for this? If you know why some do and some don't have this little bypass valve, and whether that's actually a problem or not, then yeah, bleep bloop in the comment below. I'm curious to learn. I presume this is just so it's constantly running through in case the thermostat fails. Maybe, I don't know. Let me know in the comments. I've just been at that with the emery paper and just taken off all of the sort of raised section and burrs that were on this. So you can't really tell on the camera, but it is now nice and silky smooth. So next thing, get some RTV on here, let the RTV set, and then we should hopefully have a good seal. We can start to put this back together. So now for the bit I hate doing the most, applying the RTV to here. It's always a messy job. So remember, you want just a bit more than 2 millimeters and no more than about 6 millimeters worth of line all the way around the ceiling and around the bolted joints, and then get this straight on and nip it up so that it sort of squeezes the silicone out, and leave it for an hour to dry before then tightening the bolts properly. So let's get on with the job. Just like that, it is in, so you can just see the bead of silicone around the outside. I've got to leave that for an hour to set now, so I'm going to go and do a few other little jobs around the car. So that's it, all back together. It looks pretty smart, if I'm entirely honest. Hopefully it seals as well as it looks. Next job then is, well, I've got loads of things. On to some welding, I think.
So that's all for this episode of Automotive Tales. Check back next time when we're going to get the car ready for its MOT. I've had the car for nearly a year now. It came with a fresh ticket when I bought it for our Festival of the Unexceptional Challenge, and that MOT has now expired. So I need to get some welding done so that I can get it in for an MOT, and then hopefully that's everything done, ready for it to go for sale. So if you're interested in a really, really unexceptional and actually quite now mechanically well-maintained car, then bleep bloop in the comments below. Right, bye for now. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching.